everybody, welcome back to Meet the Beat. I'm Zach Waters, aka Pretty Sister. Today I'm going to introduce you to a track I co-wrote and produced called GUY.EXE by the group Superfruit. Scott Hoying and Mitch Grassi, they're also in another band called Pentatonics. Amazing singers. We did no more than 2 or 3 takes on all the songs we worked on. I did another song for them called Sexy Ladies and another song called The Promise. I actually met them through my good friend Betty whose songs we will also be dissecting and opening up to sessions for. Dissecting sounds a little bit weird. Getting into, rather. We did a song called Beautiful together that I wrote and produced with Betty, and she knew Scott and Mitch, so she asked them to get on the song. I became really, really close with both of them. We actually ended up touring together. They had me come on and play guitar and run tracks on their first and probably only North American tour that they're ever going to do, sadly. But it was a lot of fun. In addition to Scott and Mitch being some of the sweetest, most awesome people I've ever met, their fans are equally as amazing. Super funny, super kind, super gracious and welcoming to me because I was opening also, as well as playing with them. I was also the opening act on that tour. A lot of these people had never heard of me and they just accepted me with open arms. The Pentatonics Superfruit fans are some of the best in the world. So that's another added bonus to just being a part of this project and being able to work on it. So yeah, let's get into it. GUY.EXE. So as you can see, I organized this one quite nicely. Basically, I guess we start with the drums usually. So these drums I'm actually pretty proud of. They smack. So obviously, first top of the song, we start with ga, ga, ga. I have most of the things bounced down here because this is the session that I sent off to mix. The song was mixed by Miles Walker, who's an amazing mixer. If you got the money, get Miles Walker to mix your record. Anyway, so we start with that. Basically, I'm pretty sure I just used a Contact piano. That's Good Piano is a preset that I used, which is just a very compressed piano sound from Contact. And if I remember correctly, I actually intended on changing that intro because it's so like quantized. There's no like kind of vibe. It's just but when I added like the Scott and Mitch's vocals over the I wish I could synthesize like as like an intro and filtered it kind of just made sense and I didn't end up changing it. So we have this MPC snaps. I don't use them anywhere else in the song, I guess. Cool. So, also fun fact, I made this track originally for Betty and she didn't fuck with it, so her loss. Quite a bit of stuff going on in the drums here. We have a kick, we have a snare. Let's hear this kick by itself. And let's see, do I have any processing? I have the glue. Outside, just like a little bit of a preset on there, and then the main snare. Woo! So what I did here on this snare, I just boosted like 146 hertz. I just wanted to give it some more dick, for lack of a better term. And then I added the glue, which I told y'all in the last one is one of my favorites on the pop snap preset. That snare drum pops, that's going to make your snare 50 times better. And then, of course, I have some claps happening on the snare. And, of course, I have them, I've shifted them ever so slightly to give the kind of vibe. And then there's a snap in there, too. Damn, I really layered these guys. Yeah. And then there is something I labeled disco stuff. So this is obviously some kind of loop that so it's kind of, it has that like 4-bar phrase. All of these, see, that's got an LFO tool on it, so it kind of pumps. I've cutting the low end, obviously, and a sample delay. For y'all don't know about sample delay, it's essentially a way to like spread something left and right without, something sometimes you want to make it even more stereo than it already is. Sample delay it and just, sample delay it. And then we have a hat on the 1. Oh, cool. So it's kind of like a more open hat. And then we have the, as you can see, I don't really love to use MIDI. I like to just like drag and drop samples for whatever reason. And sometimes, you know, sometimes I do use MIDI, especially for hi-hats, but I don't know. I guess was. And then of course, you know, we have, I think with this track, I was trying to make it feel somewhere in between swung and straight, if that makes any sense. Cause like that fill goes, it's kind of odd. Let's get into some of the pads, I guess. Oh, let's get into the bass. The bass is real important. Let's bring this up with the drums. And this is live bass. As you can see, it's pretty, have it getting sent to a decapitator for a little bit of gritty grit. Bass amp, compressor. So with this bass, as you can see, it's chopped up quite a bit. So originally when I made this track, I just played the bass on keys. And when Superfruit decided that they wanted to do it, I got my boy Matt Sokoler, shout out Soko Loco, who also plays bass for me. He's an incredible bass player, better than me. And this really needed like the real kind of like, if you hear, just all those like, woo! So as you can see, a lot of these fills I kind of either, you could see like I put them in. So when I do a bass player, I have them record the exact thing that I played on keys. The simplest version, like essentially like that would just be like don't, 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 don't. And then I have them go ham and like completely just by like the last chorus, I'm like filling in every gap and doing all like this kind of stuff right here. Woo! I wanted it to feel more live and I wanted to have some different elements happening in different spots. So as you can see, there's a lot of editing on the bass because I didn't want it to be boring. So that's the bass, which I think is kind of the superstar of this track. It's really, really funky. I mean, like listen to this shit right here. So there's a lot of like right? So which is swung. That's like the 24th note vibe. So that's that. Let's see. Obviously a crash, right? Crash. More bongos that I cut up. So yeah, those are just kind of, what does that say? Breakbeat paradise, huh? So yeah. Just kind of happening every so often. And I got those pinned to the right so that they kind of have their own little space. And then classic, this is just a literal, just a tambourine loop. And what do you know? There's a sample delay on it just to kind of widen it so that it's not dead middle. It's kind of out there. Come on, baby. Show me what you got. Yeah, so the drums literally take up most of this track. Everything in red is a drum bit because I color code, which I heavily suggest doing because when you start something, obviously, right off the bat, like you're dragging in kicks, you're playing piano parts, you're picking up a guitar, you're whatever, and stuff gets really messy in the first few hours. And I'd say usually at the end of a session, it's fine for it to be messy. But like when the artist goes home, I'd say spend some time color coding, fading stuff, just getting it kind of in order, especially if you're uninspired. I know for me, it really helps to organize. And all of a sudden, I feel like I have space to be creative again. Because when shit gets too messy, I'm like, I don't know where anything is. So it helps to kind of stack however you want to do it. I like to put drums in red at the top. I make basses brown because B. Here's all the synths that I bounced down before I sent it to mix, which there's not a whole lot. So let's just go through those. So we obviously have the bass, and then we have the synths, and this one's called Fa My Ba. So there's obviously some automation happening that I printed into the track. What else is happening? Oh yeah, that's definitely, I definitely automated that and sidechained it. You could hear it. Yeah, you hear the. That is a Synth patch, and basically I just automated the cutoff to open. And then yeah, chorus. We got the bass and the drums. We have the piano. Also, one thing we overlooked that I think is really important is this little whips swish. It's literally from an old Western movie, I believe. I don't know where I got it, but I think it really works well in this. Yee doggy. Piano, I think I went over this already, but the piano is basically just contact piano, probably like The Gentleman or something like that. And it's just compressed pretty to high heaven. Then we got a chorus pad. And I'll show you that. It's actually a funk stab that I made in Synth. So sample delay, what do you know? LFO tool. So it's making it, it's giving that. So obviously the LFO is making it wiggle. But so with it wiggling, it's also wiggling and going like up, like what? So that kind of gives you the vibe. So that's chorus pad. Then of course we have Quirrell's Turban, which is one of my favorite. So a lot of times I'll do that. So I'll take like a Juno sound, and then I'll put another singular Juno sound. Sometimes it's the root note doing the dun, 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 or sometimes it's like a harmony of it, creating some harmony in the chord with a different sound. So this is Quirrell's Turban. So that's just an ES2. It's a Logic plugin. So me and my boy Jared actually made Quirrell's Turban. Big ups Harry Potter. We name stuff crazy. Oh damn, I've left my user channel strips open. So I should probably close this because there's some funny ones in here. Those are all of my saved ones that like when I make a sound that I really like. In case you were wondering what fuck my bus sounds like, that's what it sounds like. Wow, that's a Tall U noisemaker. That's old school. And then let's see. Oh, we got a bass in there. Oh, I put a little bend on it, didn't I? So that's just a massive, I think that's probably just a massive patch that I just bent. I bent down. And then the guitars that you hear, so that's everything we have in here so far. So obviously the synth bass is, doing a lot less. But it works well with the bass. They work somehow. In a lot of my productions, I like to have that fuzzy kind of Moog style bass. It just is like a West Coast thing that I just love. Have to keep the tradition alive, I guess. And then there's some guitars in here, and I didn't play these guitars actually. I found some super clean octave samples. Obviously, I chopped them to high heaven. I really like to just pick and choose the moments where they're going to pop in and out. Yeah, I just found those samples so clean and so nice that I used them instead of just playing it. Shit bangs. Wow. So yeah, this track actually is not too crazy. 4 synth elements, including like a piano, one pad, a lead that's tucked into that pad, and then a live bass, and a Moog bass underneath, and then a shitload of drums. I guess because I made this track without a top line, a lot of times when I'm producing something, at least for myself, or I'm making something in a session, it tends to, for some reason, have a lot more. And I think there's something to be said for like when the song isn't there or you're not feeling that the song is there, sometimes you tend to overproduce a little bit and you start to add more stuff to the track to compensate for the fact that the song isn't there. The melodies aren't lifting enough. And I think what's fun and interesting about when I make a track just to be a track by itself, they end up being a lot simpler because I'm only relying on what the track has to offer to inform me if it feels like it's done or not, or if that chorus feels big enough. And when you listen to literally any big song, the chorus always feels like, when you hear it on the radio, the chorus feels so much bigger than you think it is. And then you go and listen to it on, headphones or whatever, and you go, they added like 2 elements to this. They added like a string, or they added like a shaker, especially if you listen to like the mid 2010s, Dr. Luke and Max Martin stuff, which is really masterful. And a lot of my production has come from studying that stuff, especially like the Teenage Dream era. You come to find out there's not a ton happening in the track. There's enough happening in the track and they're wonderfully produced. Again, what the fuck do I know? But it is interesting for me to find that this is a track that I made first and then wrote over top of it. Maybe I should start doing that more because it's a lot simpler. There's a lot less elements. So many tracks that I have that are like 50, 60 plus tracks of instrumental and then, another 40 to 60 vocal tracks. And it's kind of a nightmare. And it also, I don't know if it makes anything better. It's just like choose a good kick, choose a good snare, choose some good claps to go around it, choose some percussion to make it interesting, add some shaker and tambourine in the chorus and a crash and like maybe a downlifter, or maybe don't. It doesn't really need much more than that. So let's open up the vocal session and see what we got going on in there. I'm sure it's a real doozy. All right, so here we are in the vocal session. As you can see, we have quite a lot of vocals because Scott and Mitch like to sing, obviously. We are here for it. And like I was saying before about them being amazing singers, you could see like, for instance, like this is Mitch's verse left. We did one take. I closed most of the comps, but some of them are still open for some reason because I'm a lazy bitch. We did 2 takes of this ending here. Am I asking too much? And then that's it. Let's see. Scott's verse here is 5 takes total. And you could see how much cutting we did. Not that much at all. So yeah, most singers, even, I'm not trying to drag anybody, but like myself included, I'm doing 10 plus takes and coming from that. These boys, like I said, I wasn't lying when I said 5 takes. That's like maximum what we were doing. Pretty standard issue. It was a challenge, of course, because you have 2 singers and they're both a lead singer. So I think this is interesting as far as the vocal mix goes because you have 2 very different singers. Scott's husky and a little bit lower, and then Mitch has this kind of more angelic kind of situation. I found it interesting because it gave us an opportunity to have them singing like at all times. So in the verses, you'll notice. Let's mute the track. Where are the boys at with emotional stability? So basically, nice car, a CEO, and almost just as smart as me. Where are the boys at with financials? So basically, I have Scott kind of dead center, as I guess that's kind of like the lead, but then we have Mitch on the left and right with the high octave. I have Mitch's going to verb, it's going to delay. Oh, there's some doubler happening. There's some vintage exciter, micro shifter, and there's an echo verb. I guess I have Scott's a little bit more drawn out. Yeah, the Scott's isn't going to the doubler because it's a lead. It's like the lead vocal essentially, even though they're both pretty equal in the mix. It's more the like center, and then Mitch is left and right, giving it a little bit more of a pad element. A doctor, a model, a man of possibilities. They say expectations are too high, and you'll never find a guy like that. It's driving you mad, honey. They say that it's just a waste. They say no, it's both of them. They say, yeah, Mitch is on the high ones. We had a lot of fun writing this too. And I don't know what was first, the chicken or the egg, but I put on a like YouTube mix of B movies, like B horror movies for whatever reason. And I don't know if we did that because we were talking about like Frankensteining the perfect partner, which is kind of what this song is about, which is funny. And it's such a ridiculous concept, but it's something that we all think about. There's like a lot of cheeky lines in there, like he picked me up at 8, not a minute. Like he doesn't get jealous unless I want him to. That was a fun conversation about relationship shit, but you don't hear it from the gay perspective a lot, which I think is really important, and I think that Superfruit needs to come back and make a second record.
Oh, I wish I could sing.
So Scott is just killing the lows here. Oh, I can't even sing down there. So what I have going on there is our compressor, our channel, API EQ, just on the lead vocal preset, which works amazing. And then I use the background vocals preset for any background vocal. It's pretty simple. Should I show you the RS56? That one, I'm not going to show you what it does, but you know that it is there. And it is special. And then the glue, which I love. I have a lot of plugins. I don't do this many plugins anymore, and I'm sure when Miles Walker got this, he was like, why the fuck are you using 17 compressors? They're all doing a little bit. I think it sounds good, but Miles made it sound better. Go. So basically what I got is I got Scott, middle, left, and right.
6 feet tall and super strong.
What a singer. Oh, there's 3 octaves happening on this. So then you got Scott singing the middle kind of harmony, I guess you would say, the middle octave.
6 feet tall and super strong.
Yeah, okay, so that's what I did. I did middle, left, right of his very low, and then I did middle, left, right of his middle, and then I did Mitch, middle, left, right.
6 feet tall and super strong.
And that makes a fat stack.
6 feet tall and super strong. We always get along. Alright.
Big harmonies.
'Cause I don't like to wait now.
It's also too is always a challenge, but not a challenge like it's hard, but a challenge just to make sure that you do it right with 2 singers, because they're both, like I said, they're both the lead singer, and especially on a song like this, they're both singing at the same time pretty much in every part. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't like favoring anybody, because I love them both equally, and you never want your child to feel like you like one of them more than the other. Now the real fun of this track happens. Let me see. So with the ad-libs, I use the same processing essentially as I do on the main vocal, except sometimes I'll put a sample delay on it. And that's really the only difference. That kind of makes it wider, instead of like, so you have the main vocals like in the center, and then an ad-lib kind of lives outside on the left and right. And I shit you not, they both did 1 pass of ad-libs for the whole song. They just said, yo, play it from the beginning, and then they just went off and each sang a pass of ad-libs, and that was it. And it was just my choice to edit where they should go, because that's how they roll. Takes me fucking hours to think of ad-libs, and they just fling them off the top of their heads.
I've been looking high and low.
This part was actually really, really fun. It took a while for it to come together, but Scott and Mitch wanted it to sound kind of like this. They wanted to feel like a concert, right? Where the concert breaks down, and then like, I've been searching high and low, and then the background singers go, how? You know, they wanted that kind of vibe. Creating that was, there's just like a lot of cool backgrounds.
Right. And treats me mighty fine.
These right here.
So come on, baby.
So the Talkbox part, essentially I think they wanted like a guitar solo or something like that, and I was like, why don't I try a little Talkbox thing? So story with that is, as you can see, there's a shitload of plugins on it. I don't know why, but there's a lot of plugins trying to make it sound cool. It's a 2-person job, that one, because so it's Talkbox, right? So I have the tube in my mouth. I had my good friend Dave Applebaum, who plays keyboards for a band called the Mowglis. He's an incredible keyboard player, and so I said, hey, can you play a keyboard part over this, like really virtuoso stuff, like the arpeggiated kind of stuff. I had him recorded on MIDI, and then I output what that was playing to my Talkbox, put the tube in my mouth, then re-recorded that part. And then there was a part of an earlier Talkbox solo that, as you could see too, sounds a little bit different from this compared to these 2 tracks right here, because this was from my original thing. So that's the... Wonder what he played originally. Let's hear it, actually. Pretty fun, actually. Really jazzy. Something about it, I ended up not going with that because something about, you know, it had a little bit more of a singable moment. And so I chose that, but then ended with, he did a crazy like arpeggio at the end. So I used that. Woo! And then I put a slowdown on it so that it would sound like it slows down. And then I think for the live show, or for the video actually, I had to put an extra pause in that too, if I remember. It kind of like stops for like a bar. You know, the usual suspects as far as buses go. We have a longer space designer verb. It's kind of like it's the standard. I think it's the verb when you just like click reverb in Logic. That's what comes up and it sounds great. So I use it. We have a delay with a eighth note and a quarter note stereo delay. There's a doubler, a waves doubler. Always make sure to take off the direct signal. So you just get the 4 others. Effects, and then a micro shifter. And then the same go-tos as always, you know, cutting a little bit here, boosting a little bit there. Our compressor, doing like not too much, just a little bit, as you can see. The way I approach compressing and EQing vocals is just doing a little bit at a time. And I think that when I first started like mixing and producing, would take one EQ and one compressor, and I would just drive the shit out of that compressor, and that didn't sound really good. And then I guess I learned over time that if you just do a little bit with better, more expensive compressors, I'm talking about like the stock Bomb Factory, sounds fine, but like when you start pushing that bitch, it doesn't not sound. I like to use the C6, the trans multiband compressor. I have since eased off my processing a little bit. I use a little bit less. I use like only like maybe 3 compressors and like 2 EQs and a de-esser per channel. So I've chilled it out a little bit. To be honest with you, I always prefer if Miles Walker can come in and mix the song. I mean, I could get the job done, but he has Grammys. All right, so that is Superfruit's GUY.EXE. I hope y'all enjoyed that and learned something, and hopefully I didn't bore you with my dork shit once again. I will be doing a lot more of these, so what am I supposed to say? Like, drop a like, drop a link, drop a comment in the comments below and let me know which one you want to hear. Subscribe, like, look at me. I'm like a real YouTuber now. Whew, feels good. Anyway, y'all, thank you for watching. See you next time.